Well, welcome back to another video. Today I am going to be showing you guys, let me share my screen, Infinite Campus. This one, I think if you've already been a VP, you kind of have your things that you know how to use Infinite Campus for. I'm going to hopefully show you a couple of things that could be useful for you. And then if you're new to KCPS, this will be a good way to get you started on a strong suit. So the first thing you always want to do is make sure you're at the right school, right year. If you're not, you'll find finding your data pretty tricky. What I want to do is real quick. The first thing I want to show is just somewhere where you can get some good attendance data. I think that's where most people don't know how to pull the proportional or how many students are over 90% in an easy way. I'll show that first because I think that's most useful. And then I'm going to kind of go through the basics. So if you're new to Infinite Campus, that'll be most useful. And then I'll end on the reporting services reporting and kind of show you how to create some reports that might be useful. So if at any point during this you're like, I kind of know this part, feel free to skip ahead. I just want as this to be as useful as it can for as wide as amount of people as possible. So if you want to pull attendance data, if you're on the attendance team or in charge of that, or you're working towards your 90/90, making sure that as many kids are over 90% attendance or what we call proportional. If you go to attendance office, there's two reports that I will often run, and they are the ADA detail report and the attendance audit report. This one will give you your breakdown for students and their percentage of school that they're attending. It breaks it down by grade, gives you your total for the whole school, so you can kind of see where that's at. But more and more people are wanting to know how many students are over 90%. And this report will give you that data straight off the bat. So I should be selected. I may have to go back a year. So let me do list by school, and I'm going to switch it back. And then you can pick your date range. Last year, we thought we were doing a good job because we were tracking our 90/90 month to month. And each month we were doing better than last year. But unfortunately, you kind of want to track your 90/90 for the whole year because it's not the same kids every month reaching 90%. Um, and so as the whole year went on, we weren't making as big of improvements as we thought we were. So what I'll do is I'll go back and we'll kind of we'll just do September. You can do the full year. I'm just going to pick some dates that sort of make sense. We'll do December to through November. So that should give us a good chunk of time. And we can see, okay, during that chunk of time, what was our percentage over everything. If you wanted to get into the details of each specific student, you can, but if you just run the summary, and you can do for this PDF works perfectly fine and just generate the report. If I had everything set up correctly, it should give me just a PDF real quick. And things will run slowly because I am recording. But what this one does is just right up at the top, it's going to give you your number. And this is kind of how I pull data for month to month. But like I said, what I learned from last year is you need to be tracking this for the whole year. So it does give you your average daily attendance as well, broken down by grade. So if you can just run this report, you'll get both. But up here, it's going to give you your breakdown. So you can get students with above 90%, gives you the number, students below 90% gives you the number, and then your percentage if you just multiply by 100. It does give you the proportional attendance rate there. So there's a slight discrepancy there. I've been meaning to talk with district about what number is the official number, but as you can see, you can probably just run this calculation and figure out which one it is. So that's what you're looking for if you're looking for your how many kids are over 90%. Okay, I'm going to go through a bit of if you're new to Infinite Campus, how to operate it real briefly. The main things that you're going to be using is the main menu and all the resources there, and also the search tool. The search tool is mostly useful for looking for specific students and then using the menu for choosing what you want to find out about those students. Occasionally, you may jump to course or section if you want to investigate like specific classes, or if you're doing something with teachers, you could look here under staff. But majority of time, I'm here under student, occasionally jumping over to look up a course or a section if I want to like print off a roster, things like that. So we'll come back to that anytime that you open up something for student information. So for an example, I want to look up the attendance of a student. When I click attendance, it's going to ask me to open up student search. That will just pop over and switch this to. And that's where you can look up any student name, and then it'll give you your student attendance. For the purposes of this, since this will be on YouTube, I'm not going to put any student data on there. You can view what this is for your students, but that's I won't be showing student data just to keep all that private. What I would recommend you do when you're new to Infinite Campus, or if you never did this before, you can see up here, anytime I have something open, there's a star. This one has been highlighted. When you click it and it turns blue, that adds it to your favorite. And so what you want to do is kind of go through and say, what are the tools on the menu that I'm going to use a lot? And then as soon as you're using them, favorite it. So that way you can just click on this tab and you'll have all your favorites right there. So I'll go through this briefly. Instruction, you won't really use much of this because this is mainly for teachers. I've used it a little bit when we have a teacher that's been out. I'm in charge of putting in the grades. Then I might use instruction to get to the grade book, things like that. Student information, there are a few things here that I utilize. Attendance, for checking student attendance, and things like that. Behavior, to see if what they're doing in terms of behavior. If a student's asking about their credits, we can use the credit summary to at least look at past semesters, what they've earned. You will have to pair that with what they are currently earning. Sometimes enrollments, if I wanted to look back and see what middle school they came from or view their grades, those are some big ones. And then the other one will be schedule and summary. Summary gives you like the contacts that you need to call, their student number, birth date, all that information. So I utilize this one pretty frequently. And typically when you select a student, summary is the first thing to pop up. And schedule, if I'm like, all right, where is the student? If you just pop up schedule, you'll see exactly where they're at for the day. There are some other things down here, like your PLP contact log, that will be useful. And then sometimes each of these has a reports. Sometimes you'll find some very useful reports down here. Just those kind of vary based off what you need. But that's kind of the main things I use for student information. And then once you've opened it up and you have a student selected, you also do have these related tools over here. So I will typically just scroll down and there's my schedule, there's my summary. And so those are the easy ways I access it, is just using the related tools. Some of the higher chosen items are over here on the left. Attendance office is where I click to show you those two reports from earlier. Those are the main things that I like from here, but you could do a day count report. Like I said, the report section tends to have some pretty decent ones depending on what you are looking for. Behavior office. If you are new, you'll be using the behavior office quite a bit. Behavior referral is how you will initially write the referral. Teachers also have access to this to write their referral. You would always start with this. I won't go through, well, I'll show you a little bit. So you pull up this, you can click new, and then you're going to fill out all this information based off what the student did. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just make sure that at the end you've hit submit. Once you hit submit, it will leave this page and it will go to the behavior management page. On the behavior management page, it'll never look blank. Once the school year starts, anything that you've submitted and teachers submit is listed here. And then you can go through and find anything that is for you to manage. Open that up, and that's where you can give ISS, OSS, say that you conference, phone called home. You're documenting whatever steps you took to do that. Make sure that every once in a while, go back through And if the student suspension is done or any of that, you need to change it from marked in progress to complete. And then it will move off of this page into a completed folder. If you ever need to find those, you can always switch to completed. But that's important for kind of tracking and helping the team manage what things do we need to address. So every periodically go through and kind of move things over. So you'll be using behavior management a lot. Make sure you hit that star, and then it will be in your favorites tab. Um, you could do some behavior reports as well, but these are the two main ones that I'm using here. Census, I don't think that I've used a lot of things from this area. Communication, nope. Employees, self-service, fees, grading standards. Sometimes I will go into here. Class rank report was one that I used a little bit so that the freshmen could kind of see how they were doing. You could also do a gradebook usage report. That's useful for checking to see if teachers are utilizing their gradebook. And then down towards the bottom, a lot of these aren't used very much. I'll go into the last thing, which is reports. And I'll briefly show you how to create a report, save that type of report, and then you'll be able to run that frequently. I created one earlier today. I'm calling it Student Snapshot. I'll kind of show you how I built it. But again, I don't want to show student information, so we are going to leave it. So right now it says active today, true. So normally this would show you all your students because all your students would be active. Since I'm recording this in summer, there's not showing anyone because everybody's inactive. If I were to switch this to false, it would populate this preview down here so I could kind of see what I'm building out. But again, I don't want to show student names and numbers. But essentially what this does is you can add a few filters. So in my filter before, we're planning going in this new year and we're going to have students within a certain range of the alphabet. I can create filters so that I only print a report for students in my alphabetical range. You could also do it by grade. So I can click add new filter. I only want oh, I had it earlier. Hmm. Oh, you know what? In order to get more of that filters, here's what we want to do. We want to we need to get the grades over here. I was wondering, I was like, I had it over there. So if we come down, so the way that this works is you can grab any bit of information. Let's say if I want birth dates or something, but I said grades, so I'm going to bring grades over and we're going to add that in. You can readjust the columns. Now, if I had students listed, now I would see their student number, last name, first name, and their grade. I should now be able to correct. Now I can sort things out by student grade, and I only want things that are equal to, let's say, ninth grade. Now it would eliminate all the other grades, and I would just have students in ninth grade. And where this becomes useful is the report that I ran before. I was interested in, I called it like a student check in, like a status update. So the two other things that I grabbed was the attendance, and I kind of grabbed what their attendance rate was. And then I also grabbed like a grade. I found like what is their GPA for term one. So each term I could kind of gauge that. And so now I can kind of, when you're done and save this, you can print off a report in Excel. And now you can use conditional formatting to then highlight certain students who are at risk of dropping below 90% or students whose grades aren't doing so well. Or you can do it to highlight students who are doing great and you want to reward them. Point being is you can drag any bits of information you want from over here just by opening these up, pulling them over, and you can build your own report. You can save that report, title it however you want, and then every week or month, whenever you want to run these, it will pull all that data live, and you can kind of use this to create some preset data markers for whatever team you're running. If it's tracked in Infinite Campus, you can run this report. It does take a little bit trying to find exactly what you want to do, and there's like overabundance of information over here. So trying to find the exact information you want does take some practice. But if you spend a little bit of time here, you could have a few reports that are useful for you. You can print them in PDF, or if you print it in a CSV file, then you've got it in Excel and you can manipulate it and you've got good data to track and to sort and to use for making decisions. So that's a pretty useful tool that I think is pretty underutilized. All right. Basically, Infinite Campus, you'll find ways that you're going to be using it a lot. When you do find those tools, make sure you put it in the favorites. So now I can find all the things I use frequently, just one click away. I would suggest doing that kind of during the summer when you got the time. So like, hey, I want to use Data Viewer more. Click it, and now it is in my starred category. Pretty easy. Hopefully this video was helpful. I'm trying to just kind of cover the basics, what admin would need, and hope that these videos are helping you guys. It gives me time to think through each of these processes and how I want to utilize them better for next year. So it's useful for me as well. All right, see you in the next video.